Okay, this is my quick review slash opinion about this product called Clean Deck. I don't have the can of it with me. I will just post a picture up here. Clean Deck is a graphite spray that you could put on just pretty much anything that you don't want stuff to stick to, I guess. But mainly this was designed for using with like lawnmower decks, snowblower, whatever. This is a deck from my steering wheel zero turn Toro mower, and I got this mower brand new, and the very first thing I did was clean any oil and residue off the deck, and then I sanded it very well with sandpaper to prep it for this graphite spray. Now what you're looking at here is one season. This is after the end of its first season, after I put the graphite spray on here. And if you look at it right here right now, this is actually what it looked like after the first use. And after the first use, it hasn't really changed much since then. And you can see here, let me get a little closer. You can see here that pretty much wherever the grass is being thrown up from the arch of this blade, that's where it's pretty much came off. I mean, that every place that the grass is getting tossed around, even up around here where it's getting thrown, that's where it's getting worn away. And anything under here where grass isn't really getting thrown against, because if you look at the blade, it's just flat. There's really nothing being thrown against the bottom of the deck right here. This part here is arched, so that's pretty much acting like a fan, just blasting it. So the graphite spray, you know, it pretty much is going to do exactly what you would expect. I mean, even the paint on the deck doesn't even hold up to that kind of abuse from gravel, dirt, grass, which grass can actually be pretty abrasive. I've ran over sticks and pine cones. You know, I'm not one of those people who's all that picky about making sure my yard is perfectly clean before I go and, you know, mow my lawn and that kind of stuff. Yeah, sure, I'm gonna have to sharpen my blades more. It's probably gonna be more abusive towards the lawnmower, the deck and everything, but you know, I'm not running over logs, just small branches and stuff like that. It's just tiny stuff. It's nothing big. And leaves, you know, I suck up the leaves too. But this is what it looks like after one full season of cutting grass with it. That's how much it held up. And you know, it's not that bad when you think about it. You know, anything you put in this deck is going to get worn off. But actually where it matters the most is actually where it doesn't get blasted, because mostly this is where your grass is going to stick. You know, any place that's not getting constantly pummeled by just stuff getting thrown around, that's where it's all going to collect and stick. So that's where you'd want your graphite to actually be, or whatever non-stick stuff you put on there. So that's gonna that's actually serving its purpose. And it actually you know, I don't really cut my grass when it's wet hardly at all. I make sure it's dry. Sometimes you can't do that depending on how long it's been and how much it's raining. And if you cut your own grass, you know what I mean, because it's really hard to try to make your schedule around the weather. So back to what I was saying, you know, that's how you'd want it to be. So does this stuff work? I would say yeah, because when I took this deck off, this is what it looked like. I mean, I rinsed it off a little bit, but there wasn't any chunks of grass or anything sticking anywhere. That's actually what it looked like right here. So does the graphite spray work? I would say yes, but I don't have anything to compare it to on this particular mower because I didn't put it on there after I've already used it to really know where it actually would stick. And just as far as people who are looking up this mower for like Toro or looking to buy a mower, the only place that grass actually got built up and stuck was actually under here. There's a cover that goes over this, and that's where all the leaves and grass and everything was just packed underneath both of these pulleys here. So I mean, if anything, you know, That's where you'd want to make sure everything gets, stays clean, because you don't want your bearings and everything or anything else to rust out from that being collected under there. And it's very hard to clean out without taking the covers off. So I actually probably going to leave the covers off of this from now on so that I don't have that buildup. But nowhere else on the mower or the deck has there actually been any kind of a problem as far as buildup goes or anything sticking. Except for just stuff that might rest on the top after cutting the grass, which you just blow off or whatever, that's easy. But that's kind of what Clean Deck will do for you, based on my experience. And is it worth reapplying it after it's already done all that? Absolutely not, because it's just going to wear off. Like I said, after the first use, it's going to wear off right in the same places again. So I wouldn't bother. One thing that's kind of interesting though here, one last thing, is this is the front edge of the deck, and this is just getting rubbed against the ground and the grass, and actually it's pretty surprising on how well it actually held up here. It's actually nice, and it looks like a pencil. It's actually really shiny, and it hasn't really come off of it. I'm actually very surprised it hasn't, because that does see a lot of abuse by itself. So that's it. That's my opinion about it, and that's my review. So questions, comments, just leave them below.